appeals court upholds Cedar Rapids man's 3 convictions for killing his family.
Someone broke into our house. Our address is 4414 Oak Leaf Court, Northeast. I've been shot. My other family member's been shot. I need help immediately.
Police speaks back yet, though. We got a thorn sheriff. How's this down here? Who are you?
Dad.
But your dad? What happened? What happened?
He came down. There was a man.
Jackson's story about an intruder being the shooter also wasn't plausible because he had no defensive wounds, nothing was disturbed in the house, and there was no sign of forced entry.
When a call comes in about a possible break-in in an upscale neighborhood in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, officers aren't sure what they're going to be walking into. It's a crime which leaves investigators wondering, is the caller a victim or is he hiding a darker truth?
On June 15th, 2021, a peaceful suburban morning in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, turned into a scene of unimaginable horror. Inside a quiet family home, 3 lives were stolen in an act so brutal that it left an entire community reeling. The victims were not strangers to their killer. They were his own family. Today, we're covering one of the most shocking family murder cases in recent American history, a crime rooted in fear, resentment, and a chilling lack of remorse. This is the horrifying story of Alexander Ken Jackson and the calculated murder of his father, mother, and sister. A case that raised disturbing questions about what truly lies beneath the surface of family life. When you think of Cedar Rapids, you might picture tree-lined streets, tidy lawns, and neighbors greeting each other as they head out for work. But behind the doors of one home, a dark and twisted plan was unfolding. On that June morning, 20-year-old Alexander picked up his family's rifle and unleashed violence that detectives would later describe as both methodical and merciless. What could drive a son to commit such an unthinkable act? Was it desperation, fear, or something far more sinister within his mind? As the investigation unfolded, police uncovered evidence that painted a picture of a young man spiraling under the weight of expectations and failures, a spiral that would end in the brutal execution of his own family. If you're drawn to true crime stories like this, make sure to keep watching as we dive into the twisted story of Alexander Ken Jackson. A case that proves sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones who live right under your roof. The Jackson family seemed like any other middle-class household in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Their home at 4414 Oak Leaf Court sat at the end of a peaceful cul-de-sac, its front yard neatly trimmed and windows adorned with seasonal wreaths. Neighbors often described them as quiet but kind, a family that mostly kept to themselves, but always offered a smile in passing. At the head of the household was Jan Jackson, a 61-year-old retired systems analyst who spent decades working in the IT sector. Melissa Jackson, his 68-year-old wife, worked part-time at a local church, volunteering as an administrative assistant. She was known for her gentle nature, often bringing homemade cookies for parish meetings and checking in on elderly neighbors. Then there was Sabrina, just 19 years old, vibrant and full of life. She had recently graduated high school and was taking time to decide her career path. And finally, there was Alexander, known as Alex to his friends, a tall, soft-spoken 20-year-old with an unassuming presence. He was enrolled at the University of Iowa, though his academic performance had been faltering. Records revealed he was struggling in multiple courses and at risk of failing out. He spent much of his time at home, rarely socializing on campus, and friends noted he seemed overwhelmed by academic demands. Alexander's relationship with his father was strained. Jan's disciplined and firm parenting clashed with Alexander's passive and hesitant nature. In quiet moments, he confided in friends about feeling the pressure of expectations he felt he could never meet. Financially, Alexander was entirely dependent on his parents. He had no job, no steady income, and his bank account barely held $30 at the time of the murders. Investigators later revealed that Alexander often expressed anxiety about his future. He feared his father would soon force him to get a job or move out of the house, something that terrified him beyond words.
I know more about an audience. Does he get along with like that? With you? The wiring that sounds like drugs. So he fell off. Well, but in party, well, let's shoot you. If I'm going to pay for half of your college, you're going to get a job. You're going to pay for the other? You're not showing any effort. You haven't shown a drop of effort to go get a job.
Former classmates described him as quiet, polite, and almost invisible in group discussions. Professors remembered him as a student who turned in assignments late or incomplete, but never caused disruptions. He was the type of person easily overlooked in a crowded hallway, someone who drifted by without making an impression. It was this very nature, unassuming and soft-spoken, that made the events of June 15th all the more shocking. At 8:23 a.m., the routine silence shattered with a desperate 911 call. The voice on the other end was shaky, cracking under the weight of fear or pain, or perhaps both. It was Alexander.
Someone broke into our house. Our address is 4414 Oak Leaf Court, Northeast. I've been shot. My other family member's been shot. I need help immediately.
Okay, I'm getting Cedar Rapids on the line here.
I've been shot in the foot.
Okay, sir, stay on the line. Stay with me. They should be answering. Give them the address right away.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
4414 Oak Leaf Court, Northeast.
Okay, what's going on?
Someone broke in.
Okay.
I've been shot.
You've been shot?
My dad's been shot.
Okay, hold on just a second. Are they still there?
No, they left.
They left. Did they come inside the house?
Yeah.
Okay, where were you shot at?
Downstairs.
No, on your body. On your body, where have you been shot?
Foot.
I'm sorry, where?
Left foot.
In your
Left
foot?
foot.
Okay, how old are you?
20?
How old are you?
20.
20. Okay. I've got help coming. Just stay on the line with me, okay?
His words tumbled out between sharp breaths as he clutched his bleeding foot. The dispatcher kept him on the line, asking question after question in an attempt to keep him conscious and gather details for responding officers.
Could you tell if it was a man or a woman?
Man.
A man. Could you tell if they were white, black, Hispanic? That's okay if you don't know. Just stay on the line with me, okay? What's your first name?
I'm Alex.
Alex, is that help coming, okay? Just stay on the line with me and don't hang up, okay? The number I have is
I think I spooked.
You think what?
I'm not wrong.
You're doing just fine, Alex. Just stay on the line with me. What do you think happened?
I don't know.
Okay. Is it just your foot?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
that's funny.
Okay, do you have a dry clean cloth or towel you can put on there so we can control the bleeding?
I tried to put a belt on my leg, but it broke.
You tried to do a tourniquet and it broke?
Yeah.
Okay, do you have a cloth or a towel, a shirt, anything that's clean and dry?
I can go get one.
Okay, if you can get one.
Within minutes, Cedar Rapids police arrived at 4414 Oak Leaf Court. Body cam footage later shown in court captured the tense atmosphere. Officers approached cautiously, weapons drawn, scanning the driveway and side yards for any sign of the reported intruder. The front door was unlocked. As they stepped inside, the stillness was unnerving. There were no signs of a struggle, no overturned furniture, no shattered glass. The home remained eerily pristine, disturbed only by the faint sounds of Alexander's cries from deeper within. They found him sitting on the hallway floor, dressed in shorts and a t-shirt, his right foot smeared with blood. His face was pale, eyes darting frantically between officers.
Multiple victims. One has a gunshot wound. The other is wounded in the leg.
Who's this down here?
Hey, who are you?
Dad. Is that your dad?
What happened?
He came down. There was a man.
Who shot your? Who else is here?
My sister.
She's back?
Yeah, she's in her room.
Is she okay?
I think so.
Officers quickly secured him, ensuring there was no immediate threat before tending to his injury. But even as they applied pressure to his wound, their eyes scanned the surroundings with growing unease. Moving further into the home, officers discovered Jan Jackson's body first, He lay motionless near his recliner, pools of blood soaking into the carpet beneath him. Multiple gunshot wounds riddled his chest and torso, suggesting he never stood a chance to react. The scene was disturbingly clean, aside from the splatter of violence that ended his life. Officers continued upstairs, calling out in hopes of finding survivors. The silence that greeted them was suffocating. In the master bedroom, they found Melissa Jackson. She lay across her bed, her body twisted unnaturally.
Looks like a master bedroom. Fourth victim. That could be the wife. Yep. 692. We have a fourth victim. Upstairs bedroom.
She had been shot multiple times, leaving no possibility of survival. The room around her remained untouched. A pair of reading glasses sat atop her Bible on the nightstand. Finally, officers entered Sabrina's room.
Where's the next one? Another gunshot to the head. Okay. I don't know where the entrance went. Jesus Christ. Another teenager.
Her posters of favorite pop singers and art sketches lined the walls, and her makeup table was neatly organized. But Sabrina herself lay lifeless on the floor near her closet, her body riddled with gunshot wounds. Her phone buzzed with notifications from friends, unaware she would never reply again. The sight was devastating. A young life abruptly ended in the space where she had felt safest. Meanwhile, paramedics attended to Alexander in the ambulance parked outside. His foot injury appeared non-life-threatening, the bullet having passed through the flesh without shattering bone. As he was transported to the hospital, officers secured the scene. They began the meticulous process of documenting every inch of the home, photographing blood spatter patterns, fingerprints, and the locations of spent shell casings. One item stood out immediately: the Browning .22 caliber semi-automatic rifle, lying on the floor near Jan's body. It was clean, undamaged, and bore no signs of an intruder's hurried escape. Officers noted it belonged to the Jackson family, a detail that added a disturbing complexity to the scene. If this was a burglary gone wrong, why would the intruder use a weapon found within the home instead of bringing one? Why was nothing stolen? No jewelry missing, no electronics grabbed. Outside, crime scene tape went up as neighbors gathered at the ends of their driveways, whispering in shock. News vans soon arrived, broadcasting scenes of officers walking in and out of the house, medical examiners removing bodies on stretchers covered in white sheets. The initial story was clear: a tragic home invasion, leaving 3 dead and 1 wounded. But inside the house, seasoned detectives exchanged glances of unease. Something didn't fit. The puzzle pieces of this crime were lying scattered before them. But as they began to place them together, a far darker image would soon emerge. One that no one, not even the closest neighbors or extended family, could have imagined. This was not the work of a stranger lurking in the shadows. This horror, they feared, was born within these very walls. As officers secured the Jackson home and medical examiners began their grim work, detectives gathered in the driveway, already piecing together the inconsistencies of Alexander's story. The house was too pristine for a supposed home invasion that ended in the brutal murder of 3 family members. There was no sign of forced entry, no broken locks, no shattered glass, and no footprints or foreign fingerprints indicating an intruder's presence. Alexander was transported to the hospital with a gunshot wound to his foot. The injury appeared superficial, with the bullet passing cleanly through without damaging bone. Detectives soon arrived at his bedside, notebooks in hand, their questions calm yet probing. He recounted his story in halting whispers. An intruder, a black man wearing green shoes, had broken into the house through the basement, retrieved the family's rifle, shot his father, and then moved upstairs to kill his mother and sister.
Investigate the house. There you go. Dad, sister, and dog.
What time did you wake up this morning?
I woke up and heard gunshots. I went inside.
You take your time, Daddy.
He's taller than me, I think. I don't know where he was there. I heard him downstairs, so I went downstairs. He was messing with my dad's gun, Does he have a mask on? Oh yeah, one of those ski masks or whatever. Did you see his hair? No. How about his shoes? I think they're great.
But as he spoke, his eyes remained downcast, avoiding the detective's unwavering gazes. One investigator later testified that Alexander's demeanor was oddly detached, as though he were reciting lines rehearsed in his mind rather than reliving a traumatic event.
Again, they ask him questions about the intruder, about what the intruder looked like, how it was that the intruder came in throughout the questioning, whether it be in the house, in the ambulance, at the hospital. He's not very specific. He describes them as male black. He describes something that they're wearing. He describes at one point the guy cursing, but he really doesn't give any substantive descriptions of this person such that one would expect they'd ever be able to find that person.
His statements were riddled with pauses and changes. At first, he said he fought the intruder. Later, he said he never saw the man's face. His descriptions of the suspect's clothing shifted between interviews. Detectives began to suspect they weren't listening to a terrified victim, but rather to someone attempting to maintain a crumbling lie. Back at the crime scene, forensic teams examined the Browning Point .22 caliber semi-automatic rifle used in the murders. The weapon belonged to the Jackson family and was stored in an accessible area of the home. Investigators noted the rifle's unique reloading mechanism, so intricate that even a firearms expert had to research it online before testifying about it in court. This was a crucial finding. For an intruder to arrive unprepared, discover a weapon in the house, and know how to reload it efficiently during a triple murder was highly improbable. The killer had to have prior knowledge of how the weapon operated.
As our investigator began to process the firearm, he himself could not figure out how to load this gun. Trained law enforcement weapon processor had to watch a YouTube video of this specific model of firearm to figure out how to load it. Not only did this phantom burglar come into the Jackson home to hurt people without a weapon, but he used a weapon that just happened to be laying out on the fireplace mantle and figured out how to load it and then reload it during this killing spree.
Latent fingerprint analysis yielded further damning evidence. Alexander's palm prints were found on the rifle, in positions consistent with loading and firing. While his prints being on a family weapon was not suspicious in itself, their placement, combined with the absence of any other usable prints, undermined his story. Furthermore, blood spatter analysis on Alexander's shorts indicated backspatter patterns consistent with firing the weapon at close range, suggesting he was present at the time of the shootings in a way that contradicted his victim narrative. Investigators also reviewed surveillance footage from the family home and neighboring properties. No unknown individuals were captured entering or exiting during the time frame of the murders. There were no tire tracks, footprints, or evidence of anyone fleeing on foot or by vehicle. The supposed intruder vanished without a trace, an impossibility in the eyes of seasoned detectives.
Do you want our report to reflect that there was a guy in your house that there's no evidence of? Oh yeah, of course there's a guy in my house. Listen to me. Do you want us to write down in the report that there was a guy in your house, that there's no video of him ever showing up or leaving? Do you want us to put that down, or do you want to give us some sort of an explanation that makes sense? I want the guy found.
Adding to their suspicions, Alexander's phone records painted a troubling psychological portrait. His search history revealed late-night queries about self-defense shootings, home invasions, and the legal ramifications of murder. This, coupled with his academic failures and fear of eviction, suggested mounting desperation. During questioning, Alexander admitted to detectives that he was terrified of his father forcing him to move out.
How did your dad feel about your career choices or life choices? No, I just wants me to just more zero in. Have you ever had any problems with him? Like serious problems with him? Like judging your life or choices? He's proud of me. Yeah, how about mom? Yeah. Same? Sister? I guess.
Alex said that his dad had threatened to kick him out or told him he would have to move out if he didn't get a job because he had been going to college, but he dropped out.
It was a confession devoid of emotion, delivered in the same flat tone as his earlier story of the intruder. On June 16th, just one day after the murders, detectives called Alexander back for a formal interview. This time, their questions were sharper, their tone more assertive. They confronted him with the forensic evidence, his palm prints, the reloading mechanism knowledge, the absence of forced entry, the undisturbed home.
You told us where you were at on that thing. So one of the big things that we needed to really hammer out was this video, right? This ring video from your house that would help substantiate some of what you told us. And I talked to my guy Jeff. He does all the forensic or digital forensic type stuff, phones and computers and cameras and things like that for us. Good news, he did a search warrant for the ring and got it back. There are no clips of anyone leaving your house.
Each piece of evidence struck like a hammer against the fragile walls of his fabricated narrative. Still, Alexander stuck to his story, but his affect remained flat. Detectives described the eerie calm in the room as he sat there, his foot bandaged, staring down at his lap. To them, it was not the demeanor of a traumatized victim, but of someone emotionally removed from the reality of their actions. By the following day, the Cedar Rapids Police Department issued an arrest warrant for Alexander Ken Jackson. He was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder and taken into custody without incident. As he was led away in handcuffs, reporters captured his expression. Blank, eyes lowered, lips pressed into a tight line. There was no visible remorse, no tears, no shock. Only silence. The investigation had concluded what no one in the neighborhood wanted to believe. The killer wasn't an intruder lurking in the shadows of suburbia. The killer, they now believed, was the quiet, unassuming son who had lived among them all along. The trial of Alexander Ken Jackson began on January 13, 2023, in a courtroom heavy with grief and anticipation. The prosecution entered with boxes of evidence, files stacked high, prepared to piece together a narrative that painted Alexander not as a victim, but as a cold-blooded murderer. In opening statements, the prosecuting attorney walked jurors through the morning of June 15, 2021, describing how Jan Jackson was found shot to death in the living room, Melissa Jackson dead in her bedroom, and Sabrina Jackson executed in hers. They described how Alexander had called 911 with dramatic claims of an intruder who shot him in the foot after killing his family.
On June 15th of 2021, a 911 call went out early in the morning hours. That call was made by the defendant, stating someone had broken into our house and shot me and my family. This call went on for 15 minutes. And you're going to hear the entirety of this call. And even in this call begins inconsistencies with what the defendant said had happened on that date in question. What the majority of that call focused on was this person breaking in, and that there was a struggle, and the defendant got shot in the foot. The dispatcher asked multiple times, describe this person. Who else is there? Eventually, the defendant does acknowledge that his sister and mother are home. And then as further conversation goes on in this call, the defendant then says, my sister, my mother, my father. Although the 911 call dispatcher doesn't catch the last that his father is there, because officers will testify when they arrived on scene, what they thought they were going to was not what they expected.
Surveillance footage from surrounding homes showed no intruder entering or exiting. There was no forced entry, no stolen valuables, no signs of struggle within the house. The puzzle remained undisturbed, a silent testament to the absence of chaos. Perhaps most devastating to the defense was the testimony of the lead investigator.
Usually you break into either steal the stuff, or in this case, kill people.
Well, but that occurs, that people come into a home and kill people, right?
Right, but my big problem with that is when you do that, you bring a weapon.
Well, who's to say that this intruder didn't have a weapon?
Why would you use their weapon if you brought one?
Because that's a better weapon. And then Mr. Jackson comes down, Jan Jackson, and he shoots Jan Jackson. That could have happened, right?
The reason I dislike that theory is because if you're going to kill someone while you're, burglarizing their home, you kill people that startle you, that confront you. Why would you kill someone that's in bed that hasn't even seen you? That's the first person that was shot.
Well, who was the first person that was shot?
His sister.
This was a son who executed his entire family to escape a future he refused to face. The defense pleaded with jurors to consider the possibility of a real intruder, warning them of the gravity of convicting an innocent man. But their words seemed to float, weightless, over the heads of a jury already burdened with the chilling reality presented before them. After hours of deliberation, the jury returned with their verdict: guilty on all 3 counts of first-degree murder.
As to each of the 3 counts, form of verdict 2 has been executed. We, the jury, find the defendant, Alexander Jackson, guilty of the offense of murder in the first degree.
The prosecutor urged the court to impose the maximum sentence, citing the brutality of the murders and the absence of remorse. As the judge pronounced 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, Alexander's eyes remained fixed downward, his face unmoved. In that moment, it became painfully clear to many that the young man before them was no longer just a son or a student. He was now forever branded as a murderer of his own family. Outside the courthouse, cameras captured the emotional statements of extended family members.
Alex wanted everyone to think that he was the victim in this case, and we're very glad today that that was proven to not be true.
Another spoke of the enduring grief, describing how the Jackson family home now stood empty, a haunting reminder of shattered lives within quiet suburban walls. For the Cedar Rapids community, the murders became an unsettling landmark in local history. Neighbors found themselves looking differently at those around them, wondering how such rage and violence could be hidden behind polite smiles and mowed lawns. Some described feelings of guilt, how they never saw signs, how Alexander always seemed so quiet and polite. If he was capable of this, one neighbor said, then what are we missing in others around us? The University of Iowa quietly removed Alexander's student records from public listings, while professors who had taught him spoke privately about his withdrawn demeanor and academic struggles. Some wondered if intervention, academic counseling, mental health support, might have changed the course of events. But others believed his actions were far beyond the scope of institutional help, rooted in something far darker within his psyche. In the legal world, the case became a reference point for motive analysis in familial homicides. Prosecutors across the state noted how fear of independence, academic failure, and perceived parental pressure could combine into a volatile psychological cocktail. Law enforcement training sessions reviewed the investigation as an example of how initial victim narratives can obscure deeper truths, highlighting the importance of forensic consistency over emotional testimony. Meanwhile, appeals were filed by Alexander's legal team. On January 9, 2025, the Iowa Court of Appeals upheld his convictions, rejecting claims of improper evidence handling and unfair trial processes. The court opinion reaffirmed what prosecutors argued from the beginning. The overwhelming forensic evidence, paired with motive and behavioral inconsistencies, justified the jury's decision beyond reasonable doubt. For Melissa and Jan's extended family, however, legal conclusions did little to mend the wounds left behind. Their house, once filled with the sounds of television shows, puzzle pieces clicking into place, and quiet evening conversations, now stood silent, listed for sale by relatives who could not bear to step inside. Neighbors reported seeing lights on inside at night in the weeks following the murders, as investigators worked through evidence and crime scene reconstruction. After the house was cleared, those lights never flickered on again. Sabrina's friends held a candlelight vigil in her honor near the university campus she never got to attend. They spoke of her kindness, her artistic dreams, and how her life had only just begun. Her room remained untouched for months after her death, her makeup brushes still arranged by color, her phone forever silent. In the end, the Jackson family murders left behind an unsettling legacy, a reminder that evil does not always lurk outside in the shadows, but can grow quietly within, unnoticed until it erupts with irreparable consequences. Alexander now spends his days behind bars at the Iowa State Penitentiary, serving 3 life sentences in an environment stripped of comfort, freedom, and family, the very things he destroyed in a desperate bid to keep them. The case of Alexander Ken Jackson forces us to confront a chilling truth about human nature. Sometimes the greatest threats to our safety do not come from strangers lurking in the dark, but from those we trust the most, those who sit beside us at the dinner table and share our last goodnight words. How could a son who lived under his parents' roof for 2 decades turn on them with such calculated violence? Psychologists and criminal behavior analysts examined the case closely. Many noted that Alexander's motive, though seemingly trivial to outsiders, carried devastating psychological weight for him. Fear of losing his safety net, coupled with academic failures and social withdrawal, pushed him into a mental corner. But even with these stressors, most people would seek help, speak to family, or struggle silently rather than resort to bloodshed. What led Alexander down a path of irreversible destruction remains a question without a clear answer. His lack of emotion throughout the trial and after sentencing was unsettling to many. During interviews, detectives described how he spoke of his family's deaths with the same flat tone one might use to recite grocery items. No tears fell when he learned his father, mother, and sister were dead. There was no visible anger at the supposed intruder he blamed. For prosecutors, this emotional void became a silent testimony of guilt, a chilling indicator that he never truly viewed them as loved ones, but rather as obstacles to his comfort and freedom. The house at 4414 Oakleaf Court stands as a somber reminder of the tragedy. It was eventually sold, its walls repainted and rooms refurnished, but the darkness of that morning will always linger there in ways only its walls can remember. Neighbors still walk past it with unease, recalling the crime scene tape that once wrapped around its porch pillars, the flashing lights, and the quiet procession of body bags carried out one by one. For the families left behind, there are no answers sufficient to soothe their grief. John's colleagues remembered him as diligent and fair-minded. Melissa's church community spoke of her generosity and calm presence. Sabrina's friends still post photos with captions about missing her laughter, her sketches, her presence during late-night calls. Their lives ended abruptly in a place meant to keep them safe. Their legacy now lives on in memories, memorials, and the silent prayers of those who loved them. Alexander, now serving his 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, spends his days in a cell far removed from the comforts of his childhood home. Gone are the familiar creaks of the staircase, the scent of his mother's cooking, the quiet hours spent scrolling through his phone under the same roof as his family. Instead, his life is now reduced to cold cement walls, routine head counts, and the reality that he alone destroyed the only support system he ever knew, leaving behind a trail of grief that no prison sentence can ever erase. If you found this story disturbing, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Alexander's sentence was justified, or do you believe something deeper drove him to this horrific decision? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more true crime stories that reveal the darkest corners of the human mind.